So we live once again. Yeah, see the title. Ah, baby, YouTube warrior. Hey, the crazy part, man. We at it again. Out here flexing on them. You know what I'm saying? Got to get some stripes out here in these YouTube streets. Got to put your weight. You know what I'm saying? Throw your weight around. Get some muscles out here. No, pump up your chest. When it come down to it, what are we doing? I always have to ask that question. What are we doing? All right. So basically, we're gonna get right into it. Couple of pointers. I might go off my notes, but probably just go off the dome starting off right now. Man, we have so much fighting, so much, things that's going on right now in the space. People want to be the number one dada dada. You know, you got people out here shaming, you know, and that's a good thing because you ought to be shamed for your misbehavior. You ought to, get put out there. All these stories that a lot of people telling, if they real, more power. But all the people that be dropping them fake stories, man, y'all need to get on with all that, man. All y'all Mac stories and stuff. Dudes coming to the panel talking about they just got out of something and they feel good. The last thing I want to do is jump on YouTube and talk to a whole bunch of dudes after I just got through beating something down. Man, I want to relax. I'm good. I'm on that sex high. I'm in that moment. Why would I want to get online and sit here and holler at some dudes, talking about how I just got in some. I mean, I understand dudes come on to brag a lot, but man, for real, like that's how you spend your time after you just, what I'm saying, dealing with a chick instead of going back in there trying to go for round two. You want to get on YouTube and brag? They made a song called "Acting Like a Nigga Ain't Never Had It." That's that's what them dudes out there doing, man. You get on there, man. It's funny, man. I steady be listening to these guys, crying about the females, and like I keep saying, man, I'm gonna keep pushing this. I don't care who don't like it or not. There's two types of dudes in this space, majority, man. The dudes that can't talk to women, don't know how to talk to women, and they mad because they can't get the woman they want. And then it's the dudes who get the women and they play them. You know, those are the main two, man. They over here struggle bonding with each other. You know, you got hurt. I can't talk to a woman. Hey, come on, man. Let's talk about this. You ain't got no old lady. I ain't got no old lady. Let's talk about how bad they are instead of fixing yourself, man. I mean, this the real, man. Dudes need to be on their father's time, that A game. You know what I'm saying? You need to get you some of that A game because this is something you need, man. It's crazy. The part about guys wanting to, sit here and rah rah as women being the villain in their life. You know, partner Gerald on Roger's channel. When Gerald first came up, you know, I ain't know where Gerald was coming from. Gerald came out calling the women's all this warrior, this and that. And I came at Gerald and I told Gerald, hey man, what's all this? I'm like, women can't be that. He said, brother, you don't know where I'm coming from. You don't know where I'm standing. I say, but you speaking in absolute, like you talking about all women. And he said, yes, because I made it perfectly clear. And he was saying that it was all women. You know, I said, I can understand you just speaking in general, but in absolutes, I'm like, nah, bro. I said, you got at least about 20%, maybe, of them are real good women that are marriageable and everything else. But to the point, they start feeling, that's why I get on dudes and them feelings. Try will I'm gonna hit him with that. Because they get all emotional, man. Have to go ahead and hit their little Maxwell note. But when it come down to it, I just don't understand it, man. I'm like, let's have a conversation. It I've always my channel is focused on marriage and money. You know, if you're gonna get married, you need to start figuring out what you want out of a relationship and the aspect of having kids. All that needs to come in play. Because as men, we always hear this in the space about being leaders and protectors. So if we're gonna become leaders and we're gonna become the protectors within the community, what do we need to do? We need to stay focused on being men that be leaders and protectors. That means you're planning stuff. I told my wife, I got a plan for her after death and before death. If I die, she has life insurance. Before I die, I have this business I'm working on again. I'm steady trying to, open up another business. One fail, I'm going to the next one. You know, throw it to the wall. If it stick, it stick. If not, pick it up and try it again. See, that's one thing with a lot of guys. They have this whole spirit of just giving up. When has majority of men ever just said, "Man, I'm never gonna do this," and gave up? We wouldn't have half of the things done if majority of the slaves just got to the point where they said, I'm never going to escape. I'm never going to be free. I might as well just don't pick cotton and die. That will of giving up, like, man, I don't understand it. Like, get back on that horse, you know. And this whole single mother thing that these men are made by single mothers, like I keep telling you, that's foolish. You got men who grew up in two-parent households act more feminine than the guys that grew up in single mother households. So that's not even an option. The men that been raised by single mothers, I know women that put their boys in situations to where they can learn from other men. And the women that didn't, it was because initially they probably wanted to control them, or they just didn't trust them around men. You can't fault that. That every time a man is acting so emotional, that he's always been raised by a woman that way. You know, because you got to understand, I'm trying to clean up the space and don't really cuss too much. But you got ain't nothing dudes raising ain't nothing boys. How do you think this generational thing goes on? If your dad ain't never did nothing in life and he positioned you to be just like him, what do you think you gonna be? You know, you can't blame that. Same thing with the women. I've known women that'll sit here and see their daughter going in the right direction and try to lead them astray because they looking at their life being bad and they don't want their daughter's life to be better than theirs. So it comes on both ends. So when I hear all these guys chanting, talking about how bad women are, some of y'all dudes is messed up. You make panels all day warring talking about how women are so bad. When are you going to make a panel about, finance? Teaching these young boys straight out of high school, just even going to college, telling them knowing there's grants out here. A lot of kids don't even go to school because either their single parents say that they don't have the money and they just give up. Smart, intelligent kids making good grades. I know a dude, he pretty much say he didn't have the smarts to go to school only because, his grades wasn't there. A lot of people doubted him. Guy was very good. The guy can type us all outdoors. I told him, I said, man, why you just don't go into reception? Work at a call center or something like that. And he said, well, my spelling is challenging. I said, well, go do data entry. All you're doing is just typing stuff in the computer. That's it. You know, I said, grammar right now, that's what they got. Dragon, I think it's called Dragon for your computer. You can speak to talk. So there's ways around that. You know, pick up a dictionary and just study every night. Get your vocabulary up. Learn how to spell words a little bit better. So there's ways of focusing in on that. If you want to harness that and let it be. A lot of guys, they look like it's like no way out. Same thing with the women. You know, they have to deal with a certain type of guy because that's what society has told them, that bad boys are more fun. The men feel like girls with big booties and they the cutest. Like I told you, it's a standard on beauty being pushed right now, and all the guys are falling into it. You know, when it come down to it, we hear so many, just crying out how bad the women. Like I keep saying, if you can make three streams a day, or maybe just that about the women, why can't you make one stream about finance? Why can't you make one stream about teaching? Because you didn't get the education, you don't want to pass it down to the next man. Well, the knowledge. You don't want to pass it down to the next man. You know, I got a son right now, me and him talk. I was talking to him. He was telling me, I was telling him about dealing with this chick he was dealing with. And essentially I said, man, she cool, but you might have to weigh your options with this girl. And he was like, yeah, I'm good. You know, we just friends. I'm like, okay, just trying to see where you coming from with this one. And ultimately we started talking. And the crazy part is he was telling me about this one chick he was dealing with. And the chick, she I think he was talking about she had like Coach purses or something like that. Or was it? I know it was some Chanel. I think it was Chanel bags or something. But he was saying how she had so many bags, and she referred to all her um all her boyfriends bought her bags. And so I was like, wow. And he was like, man, yeah, all them women bought her bags like that. I mean, all them dudes bought this girl a bag like that. He's like, man, I can't trust her. She'll just be doing it for the bags. Every time she get a new bag, I got a question: did she buy it or another dude bought it? And so, I was crying laughing because I told my son, I was like, man, I had that same situation with a girl in a pair of Jordans. Like, she showed me all these Jordans, and she was saying like all her boyfriends bought her Jordans. So I'm like, dang. So in that situation, if me and you was to mess around, you would expect me to buy Jordan. So it's like the value of the sex involves the purchase. It's not like more or less that they're getting money like prostitutes are, but they're getting valuable items. It's like an exchange rate. You know, I don't want to be deemed as some type of, within the whore culture, but I can do these things. Same thing with the men. They get taken to fly too. They put themselves out as, taking the women to the most expensive restaurants just to get some, whining and dining them. And then when they get ghosts, they looking like, oh, she did me wrong. And that's the number one thing. If you lead with your wallet, that's generally gonna happen. A lot of people don't understand that. From the aspect of you're leading with your wallet, that's generally going to happen. If you don't get that, you'll never get it. You know, and I hear so many men, in this space. Like I keep telling, focus on getting your money, focus on taking care of yourself. You know, you can have all the money in the world, and you're not taking care of your health, you're getting too big. If you don't want a big woman, how do you expect a woman want a big dude? Well, I got money. We've been hearing this. Men with money can do anything to a certain degree. Yes, you can get a woman if you have a lot of money, but on the rate of you keeping her, it's slim to none. I mean, we see it in the community of sports. Football players, the linemen, they marry these women. They look at them as cash cows. As soon as they retire from the league, they leave them. You know, there's very few that stay with their men. So you got to look at it from the standpoint, if you're going to lead with your wallet, you're going to always have to lead. You know, there's not a moment's notice where you're going to end up saying no. That's what I've told the guys on panels. Guys were saying that they want tens and all these type of women. I'm like, dude, even if you get that type of woman, you're not going to be able to keep up with it if you don't have the money, because there's maintenance involved. Just like a high-end car. When you get those BMWs, that's one of the reasons why me and my wife have this conversation about her getting a Mercedes. I told her she can get one all day, but the point is, who's going to take care of the maintenance? You know, and maintenance is expensive. I've told about one of my partners, a girl he knows. You know, she wanted a X5 so bad, ended up getting the X5. No man, just driving the car, driving the car. She changed the oil because the oil light comes on. Other than that, would never change the oil. Didn't do nothing to the car but that. You know, if somebody suggested something to her, that would have been a note to do something, but never changed the brakes. Brakes always made noise. Somebody said something to her about it, told her how much it cost. I'll do it later. You know, she had the money all day to pay the note, pay the insurance, but when it came down to it, those brakes were too bad within her budget to take care of. One day she goes in because a car wasn't start. I mean, a car wasn't stopped too good, and she was almost hitting people. So she went in. They told her the brakes were gone, the rotors were gone. She needed at least 15, I think close to 1,500 per wheel to get everything good. And she gonna need some new tires, roughly like that. She's looking at almost $6,000 doing all that work. She was so mad she didn't even want to keep the car. You know, she really didn't want to take the next step and going ahead and getting the car done. As far as getting all the work done to the car, but she needed a vehicle. Essentially, she ended up selling the car, getting her a nice Honda. The maintenance was easy. All the little brake jobs and stuff, she can get somebody, a guy that can do it. Little nothing, standard. Even when she went to the shop, it didn't cost that much. You know, easy for her. But the process is thinking long term, and that's what I want to get to. A lot of people don't think long term in relationships. A lot of people not thinking long term in this YouTube. Down the line, you're gonna have some young guy or young lady come on YouTube, all this fighting and arguing about the gender war of men and women. Like, what are they gonna gain from this? That during the millennials, the Z's, the boomers, and all the other generations, they were ignorant, they were stupid, or just what? Like, were they trying to help each other, or entail what was the arguing about so much to the point was there was never going to be a solution, but yet night after night we heard the same thing upon same thing. You know, your grandkids gonna be coming over here listening to this. Like, grandma, that was you? No, 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 that was before my time. And who let you listen to this? Because a lot of people get exposed. I mean, situations come up all the time where somebody's, probably online saying stuff. Somebody knows them personally and put all their business out. You know, might not be so much on YouTube I've seen, but Facebook, I be on Facebook, before I be on YouTube real heavy. There was a lot of people getting outed about certain things that they were doing. And from the aspect of, just like, why? Like, what is this process that you're doing to a point where, you think no one's never gonna know you're lying? I mean, just crazy. No, all right. And another point I want to bring up: people are gonna be who they are. There's no way of changing that. You know, that's why I was focusing on early when I was talking about the guys being raised by a father this way. He's always gonna be this way because that's the way he was. It's hard to break something when you get older. As a child, you can kind of stir a child in a certain direction. But once they get to a certain age and they want to be grown, you just gotta you gotta let them go to a certain degree. You only can do so much with them. And even like these adults, you got 40-year-old men still walking around sagging their pants. 50-year-old men sagging your pants. I don't understand that. Dress and look your age. You got women the same way. You know, spandex on an older woman, there's nothing wrong with that. Like the tights and stuff, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, just dress properly, dress nice. There's nothing wrong with that. But you wearing those spandex shorts all the way up, and wearing mini skirts and with your butt hanging halfway out, and you're an older woman, you still trying to live a fast life? Come on, dress your age. Dress appropriate. No, there's nothing wrong, sir. Even if it goes above your knees, long as it's tasteful and presentable, there's nothing wrong with that. Long as you making it to the point where you cross your legs, you're not trying to show anything to anybody. There's nothing wrong. Most women, the older women, even most of the younger women, do the same thing. They wear like shorts up under those skirts that are too small because the skirt looks good. My wife, she has skirts that look cute like that, and she wear her little shorts, the little I guess whatever compression shorts, whatever, something like that, up under her skirts because they look good. And if a guy think he gonna see something, all he gonna see is just the shorts. And most of the time, she get them the same color to where it look like it's almost connected. You know, but the issue with the men that are out here sagging their pants and you know the issue of wanting to look a certain way and think women need to expect them to just accept them because they hood, they hood and they look good. you know that's the crazy part. I don't get that. When when you have guys like going out to a job interview, you really want the job. Let's say it's a corporate job. Let's say you in IT, you pretty good. You go in there, t-shirt with the neck all ringed out. You done had it for a couple of years. No sense of dressing. So you go in there just looking like whatever. You honestly think you're gonna get the job on account that you know what you're doing? You know, I dealt with marketing. You know, the first thing somebody knows about you is the way you look before you even open your mouth. And men don't get that when they deal with these women. You know, a lot of guys on the panels, out here trying to jump in the back, trying to holler at these girls. I mean, cool. I mean, that's what you do. I mean, but it's kind of funny that a woman who stays in another state, you got to go all the way to another state to try to holler at a chick, and you can't holler at a woman in your own state. Like I don't know. That's kind of funny to me, but keep it rolling. But when it come down to it, you know, dressing appropriate, you know, going into an interview, a lot of men don't know how to tie a tie. Nobody taught me how to tie a tie. Learned on my own. Went in there, kept undoing my granddad tie so many times to the point I learned on my own. My grandma came in there one day, tried to tie my tie for Easter one time. I tied my own tie. She had to tie my brother tie. And by the time she came to me, mine was already tied. She was like, "Who taught you that?" So I learned on my own. She was like, "How?" She always tied my granddaddy's tie. And, you know, I didn't ever see it. It was one time I seen her tie his tie. But other times I've always thought that he tied his own tie. Because when he came out the bedroom, he was dressed, impressed. It was certain things that I didn't know because it's funny. I never went into my grandparents' room until I got older. That was like a forbidding like place to go. Even with the the funny part, I'm gonna break into a little story real quick. When I was younger, I didn't even know my grandparents' first name. That's who raised me. I didn't even know their first name. All I knew was grandma. I didn't know who and what was the deal with their names and stuff like that because that's all I knew was grandma. You know, when it came down to it, had all these other people telling me my grandma name Emma. I'm like, who that? They like, boy, you don't know who Emma is? No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. That's how I was raised. And to to hear people telling me my grandma name was Emma, I was like, what? Like, that's her name? They was like, yeah. I didn't know. I had to go give her a note for something. Woman said, hey, boy, go over here and give Miss Emma this. I'm looking like, who is that? When it comes down to it, I'm gonna get back to the topic. But it's like the way these generation is now compared to the old generation, man, it's nothing like. And shout out to I want to give a shout out to brother Bakar and his son and all his friends that graduating. Man, I listen to you talk about how good your son is, man, and his grades and all his friends. Talking about with the valedictorian, that man, that's a joke right there, man. That's good, man. Them young brothers, man, grades were so good to the point where they even tried to push the issue of I'm just gonna keep it PC and you know putting this young lady in there that wasn't even worthy, didn't even have the grades. Even when they tried to make it squeeze in, it wasn't gonna fit. But getting back to this whole YouTube war, when it come down to it, man, it's just crazy. You know, focusing on the wrong things. All the fighting. Like I keep saying, if you're gonna get married, get married. If you're not gonna get married, guess what? It's a perfect plan. Take care of yourself, get finances, because a lot of these guys, and Gold Professor talked about this the other day. When you get older, you know, you're gonna need the money to take care of yourself. So if you don't have a significant other, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't shame people for not being married. I don't shame people for not being in a relationship. If it's just not working, it's just not working. You know, don't force anything. I'm very strong about that. I have family members and friends that never been married. There was nothing wrong with that. They didn't find the right person. That's cool. But you know, focus on getting money and taking care of yourself. Because when you get older, you're gonna need someone to help you if you're not close with your family. If you have a close tie with your family, that is awesome. You'll have people checking in on you. You have nieces and nephews who you focus on. Those young kids, if you take care of them, they will love you to death. I have an aunt right now, my favorite aunt. Anything happened to her, I'm up and ready in arms. There was a situation happened at her house. I came over there and straightened it out before her kids did. They were looking at me mad because it looked so bad to them. When I found out the situation, I jumped into action. I literally jumped into action. Like it was a moment's notice. Like th- they couldn't even tell me not to do it because it was already being done. And they felt some type of way to where they had to either get in on it or, be shamed about what was going on. And that's the biggest thing with these guys, man. They gotta focus, man, on taking care of themselves. If you're not gonna be married, if you're gonna be single, there's nothing wrong with that. But take care of yourself. Work out, get your body in shape. You know, Not saying you have to lose a whole lot of weight because some people like their weight to a certain degree. They just want to be healthy. So if you like your weight to a certain degree, there's nothing wrong with that. But just be healthy with it. Eat a little better. Have cheat days. The older you get, you can't eat everything like you did when you was younger. Slow down on the pork. To be honest, don't even really eat that much pork at all. But if you're gonna eat it, slow down on it. Don't eat as much. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Ah, come on. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I hit a button trying to clear something off my screen. And I want to get to this aspect of the feelings. With a lot of guys, I always talk about this with feelings. A lot of this wars and stuff is going on is because of feelings. There was a guy that was on the panel one time. He got mad because the guys were talking about child support and stuff like that. It made him so mad due to the fact that he has kids and assuming like the manosphere talk as his baby mama played him to the left and he ended up having the kids by her. He was mad about how much money he had to pay, but then turned around and had a second kid and still mad about that. I would have learned the first time. I've talked to guys on panels that were more suitable and guys were more, well spoken. I'm just saying well spoken. I'm not gonna call them what I want to call them, but I'm just gonna say well spoken. These guys knew the risk that without wearing a condom, there's a potential of having babies. I understand if a condom busts, that's a given. But if you generally let a woman tell you if she takes the pill, you don't have to wear a condom, and now you have this baby. Now you're on the panels raving and crying and whining. That's your fault. Sorry. I mean, just yours completely. Sorry, drink a little water. But that's your fault completely. I mean, you know the rest going into this relationship that if you do deal with this chick and she is not the best candidate for being a mother, but you still pursue her to what? Just have sex? You're playing Russian roulette with yourself. And I'm sorry. I mean, like I said, I already got the AKA simp name in this space because I married a woman with kids. That was my best option, you know, I can say with that. Because on top of everything that I dealt with my wife, you know, I vetted her. We talked about marriage. The only straw that almost broke up our about being married was kids. She really didn't want to have kids because it was so much hard work. But like I explained to her, being married to a man is different than having kids with a man just because. If you're married, we're in for the long haul. So if you say you want to marry me with the intent of me staying with you forever and we have kids, is that a bad thing? Because I'm not going nowhere. Like I said, she essentially had two kids and that's what it was. And the crazy part is that's why I say those guys don't want to hold themselves accountable about dealing with it. No matter if she was on the pill or not, still, if you want to feel that way, but what with taking the condom off, you rolling the dice on your own terms. So if you have a kid, you got to say, "I made this baby," not "she made this baby," because you took the condom off. Be real with yourself. Just be real with yourself, and when it come down to it, admit it. Same thing with the women. Women gotta understand. Even if you taking the pill, if you miss, once you get back on track or whatever, let him know. Stop having sex because you're putting yourself in the same situation as him. If you're not sitting up here taking those pills properly, I think they got the NuvaRing and all these other little uh things they got for women now. When it comes to those issues, with the women, getting blood clots and certain things, you got to take the health risks involved. Like, what's the risk and reward? Is this sex really worth my health? You know, being diminished. What if you have a miscarriage or, worst off, even die during pregnancy, overtaking certain things? So you got to look at that being involved. But my biggest aspect of willing and dealing and having sex being doing the grown stuff, you got to know who you're dealing with and what are the terms if you do have a baby, what will happen? I mean, because sex is more, it's not from the aspect of doing it out of love anymore. It's almost as if it's a sport. People having sex because of the, like I say, the feeling. But other than that, you're not having sex responsibly, because if a baby do come out, is this man gonna be a good father? Is this man is gonna be here to help me raise this child? Same thing with the women. You know, Men need to understand, if I'm having sex with this woman, is she gonna be a good mother? Is she gonna take care of this child properly? If we get a divorce, or if we break up, like, these are the questions you got to ask. You know, because if you start thinking with one head instead of the other, that's when these problems come up. See, a lot of guys start having issue with someone telling them what to do, someone telling them how to think. But you got to really understand, when it comes to these issues, you got to hold yourself accountable. Just outright. You have to hold yourself accountable. If you're out here messing around and a baby do occur, you got to hold yourself accountable about taking care of that child. Men, if you're not with the woman, you're going to be paying more child support than that monthly fee that they give you. Starting off, Pampers. I literally, because I had twins, I probably got 20, I think at least about 20, maybe 30 boxes, like 20, 25. Let's say between 20 and 25 boxes of Pampers when my twins were first born. I was like, oh man, these Pampers should carry us over into at least about, because some people bought, year, some people bought newborn. So I'm like, this should keep us for at least about a year or so. Don't you know, all those Pampers went in probably like 3, 4 months. All those Pampers, 3, 4. These guys were using the bathroom off the chain, peeing off the chain, like just going crazy with it. Then I had to find out that certain Pampers were good, certain Pampers were bad, certain Pampers leaked, certain Pampers were good for my kids' skin, certain wipes. Same thing with the fragrance and all that other stuff that I don't know why they make those for kids, but certain little things, like, all this stuff went into play. So you got to understand, when you're dealing with these men and dealing with these women, you got to take those in account. So all this fighting and arguing, and the men on one side throwing spears, the women on the other side throwing rocks. you know this YouTube war, man, is, I mean, the gender war to me is always going to be, a little ins and out, to where it's almost like it's never going to end, because you can restart it up about the littlest of things. You know, the whole talk about the weaves and stuff, I laugh at that when I hear guys focusing on weave with women. I don't want a woman with weave. I don't want a woman that looks like. Why date her? Why be involved with a woman that wears weave? You ain't even got to talk about it. Just don't deal with her. There's certain aspects of stuff I don't like about with women. I don't go on YouTube and talk about it. I just don't deal with those type of women. If I was dating, I wouldn't deal with them. You know, my pet peeve a lot of time was about ratchet colors in girls' head. I didn't mind the regular bronze and blonde and brunette type stuff every once in a while. But if you run around with blue, there's no shame to women that wear all the different colors in their head. It's just not my lane. I don't like those type of women. So I didn't deal with women that rock all the different colors. I mean, it looked good. Don't get me wrong. It looked good on certain women. Blue hair and pink hair, it looked good. But I don't want to date women with different color hair like that. I even told my daughter that it's an image about that. My daughter was so mad that I wouldn't let her get her hair color. You know, Even with just a basic, I think she got like a brunette or something like that when she graduated high school. Well, I think the year, her senior year, like 2 months, I think 2 months before her birthday, she got like brunette or something like. I guess that's like a brownish color or like a brownish gold. But she got that hair. And I told my wife I was mad at her because I told her that she should have got that hair color like that at 18. Because I've told my wife I don't want to get a hair color because it's a certain image. A lot of people have perception. The way a man looks at a woman, you know, right off the bat. I can say, "Oh man, she fast. Look at the way she dressed. Look at the way her hair is." I've actually met women that dress a certain way that were just straight educated, smart, intelligent, spoke well, but her environment made her dress a certain way. Even with the makeup, she didn't have that much makeup on. But I've seen girls with tons of makeup. The way they look, the environment carries them a certain way. you know. Just like with the dudes, you got dudes that educated. I was one of the ones. I had gold teeth, you know. I was not really sagging my pants, but I wore baggy clothes. Back in the day when baggy clothes was in. Coaches and all were getting on me about wearing baggy clothes. I had a teacher that literally told me that if I didn't cut my hair, take out my goals, that she was gonna fail me on the premise on the way I look, but it was my environment. And plus, it wasn't me being out of truck in the background, but it wasn't a way of me being a person that fits into the crowd. The whole premise of me had those gold teeth. I generally always wanted golds. I liked the gold teeth. Well, I like gold teeth, so I liked the way it looked, and mine were different anyway. I had fangs, like almost like vampire teeth, and I was probably one of the first ones in my little area that started rocking them like that, and a lot of other guys caught on to it, and they started doing the same. But the crazy part, you will never have this fight with these men and women. There's always going to be this one person that's an outlier or something like that, to the degree he gets one guy to come over there and fit in with him, and they start fighting and stuff, and they get more guys to fall over. That was like one of the screens I talked about, Fight Club. You know, what was the rule of Fight Club? Never talk about Fight Club. It went from one guy, literally, I didn't even know who was fighting himself, to end up being tons of people out here fighting and beating up on each other. And it started a movement. And, in the space, a lot of young guys are going to see this and they're going to think that this is the way to be. They're going to think not to deal with women. Like I've heard 19 and 21-year-old guys talking about they're going to be MGTOW and MGTOW monks and all this, to the point where they're not messing with women, they're not dealing with women. I've had young guys in relationships we talked to that essentially said that, the women ain't no good. They gonna always be wrong. So I'm just gonna not deal with women in general. I'm like, on whose whose purpose? Because you heard a bunch of guys on YouTube that's been crying about the women, that got hurt, and now you want, like I told you, it's struggle bond. You guys over here struggle bonding with each other. Women the same way, they struggle bonding too. They had a man that doing wrong. You know, man, he wrecked my car. He spent all my tax return, and he just didn't do right. But the guy didn't have a job when you met him. The guy cute though. He cute. He got the what they call the baby curls. You know, and a lot of the women are sucker for dudes with brown eyes. Y'all know the dude got green eyes. That's that money talk. They throwing the money at the dude with the green eyes though. But when it come down to it, you're a sucker. You're a sucker for. He works out. He look good. Dude ain't worked in that. I mean that Tyler Perry movie where the older lady married that guy and he was taking advantage of her. I didn't even get to see the whole movie. I just seen a little bit of it. It was just too boring to me. It was like a lifetime story. So I just got bored with it and turned it off. But just I got the gist of what was going on in the movie. But the crazy aspect is the women on one side are complaining about how bad the men are, But when they got in their feelings, they picked those women. They picked those men on the premise of how they look. They picked the men on the premise of the money or whatever they brought to the table, and thought that everything was gonna work itself out. You know, like I said, arranged marriages between families are done on the premise of, you know, growth in the family, or tradition. Agreed marriages, I learned this from I think it was Screwball yesterday we were talking about. Agreed marriages came into play when these men and when these women agreed on, I'm gonna be a good person for you, you be a good person for me. Let's get together and let's work on, you know, building a family. You respect me, I respect you. A lot of men and a lot of women want true love. There's no guarantee in that. You need to stay focused on the aspect of finding someone, just like what was the movie Fences? I didn't watch that. I mean, I heard several stories. I'm probably gonna watch it one day. I'd be so ashamed about watching movies sometime now. But the crazy part is when they was like on the scene when he told his son, it don't matter, you got the like or something like that, but the whole point of respect, I ain't got to like you to love you. The point of it is you find a person that respects you. That's the key. And finding out somebody that wasn't his dad, that's why the whole situation was like that. But the craziness of it is respect goes a long way. The love is built with trust over time. You know, you can't meet somebody within the first couple of months and say, "Oh man, I just love this person." That's not really love. You know, that's like a emotion kicked in of I'm trying to figure out the word lost me, but that's not love. You know, that love at first sight, nah, no, that's an emotional feeling that you have, that you want to pair bond with someone because on the premise of how good they talk to you or how good they look. That's emotional feeling that can easily go away when he goes upside your head. The emotional feeling can easily go away if they talk to you a certain way and you don't like it. So that love at first sight is played out. But over time, generally speaking, you can tell me something all day, but your actions speak louder than words. You can say, we're good, we're gonna be together forever, but the way you approach me, the way you talk to me, the way you try not to disrespect me, even though you catch yourself might say something bad, but you catch yourself because you know that's wrong. I don't, approach you like that. You don't want to approach me like that because in a sense we come to agreement that we respect each other. That's the type of love that you want to meet when you go into a relationship. You know, of course, I've always talked about how good my wife is. She has her flaws too. No one's perfect. I have my flaws. But in a sense, with both of us coming together and, raising our kids and focusing on the greater, the picture, like I keep telling her, generational wealth. She gets on me about my life insurance sometime. I have too much. She has one policy. I got three. Finna get some more. My I keep saying I'm gonna do this. I know Alonzo gonna get me for this, man, but you know, it's crazy. Like I want to go ahead and get that $1 million policy, and I'm trying to work on this stuff. I'm actually in the process of changing jobs, you know, but once I do that, I'm definitely gonna deal with Alonzo on getting that $1 million policy because that's gonna be my main focus when I get it. My friend even tells me that now, man. The money that I make, I mean, the money I'm paying for life insurance is almost like give me a car note. But I'd rather go ahead and pay that car note for my future than to drive a car that depreciates value right now. It ain't gonna be worth nothing. You know, like I said, when I die, my whole thing is like Black Uru saying, having that picture on the wall, and someone comes in there and say, "That's a great man. He started all this, whether it be from business, whether it be staying in a nice house that's being passed down from generation to generation. Anything that I have that represents the family gonna be passed down from generation to generation. That's going to be the key, you know. And a lot of guys got to focus on that when dealing with their family. A lot of guys got to come to the understanding that when you do have a family, this is what you're doing. You're planning for the future. You know, of course, you're gonna sometimes struggle, live paycheck to paycheck, but what's gonna be the outcome to bring you out of that mentality, of that mode? What are gonna be the things that you're gonna start saving money and helping people with? You know, like I said, if you don't have a family, there's nothing wrong with that. Focus on the next generation, whether it be in your family. If you can't deal with your family, or you were the only kid, your mother and father were the only kids. Okay, if you don't have extended family that you deal with, focus on a friend and their child. You know, I always push. Don't just deal in the circle. Sometimes you got to go out the circle. You know, Uru talked about this one time. If you had a business and your family business was passing down from generation to generation, but then you had that one son or daughter that couldn't run the business, but their friend was awesome at it. You still let the son be something like the CEO or something like that, but you hire his friend to be the manager or whoever to run the business, because the money shouldn't stop. Some people are just not made for it. Some people are not ready for it. You know, the business must keep going. You know, and then like you give the friend, incentives and bonuses. You know, make him a part of the family as well. I have three. I want to say three good friends. You know, two of them, we in and out. Well, actually, all of them. We've been in and out without bickering, fighting. We got to a point where we didn't talk to each other for a couple of months or something like that. But when it came down to it, I only got these three friends that I really trust as brothers. One of them, I tell this dude, like, man, you like my brother more than my own brother. You know, this guy, he told he told like his family and me all. He said, man, I ain't got no money for y'all. So when it come down for the aspect of money, I ain't got no money to give you. As far as my job, the way I work, my money is already being spent and taken care of in certain directions. Now, when it comes to the aspect of, you know, me doing something, I do something for you all day. This guy watches my kids. Anytime I need some help doing something, he right there on the drop of a dime. If he gotta, do something a little later, or he gotta push some things back, he'll let me know. That's one guy I can always depend on, trust. No matter all the fighting and stuff we go through, man, I done got on this guy so much about things that he do. He's got on me about things that I've done. I changed my life on the premise of certain things. I put this guy in position in the mindset, you know, dealing with certain purchases that he had and certain changes in his life. We worked on each other because, you know, I'm not the high within, my boys. I'm not the low. I'm the middle. I got another homeboy. He's on the high end. Big guy has the wealth. He has a lot of things going on good in his life. He's bringing me on a lot of his business ventures. And I appreciate him for that. Because, when it comes down to it, you got to have those friends like that. If you don't have those friends like that, you have those family members like that, even better. You know, like in a premise, if you're pretty much gonna be a certain way depending on the people that's around you to a certain degree. Because a lot of guys who in this space, they not true with their thoughts. They're not true in the process on how they were raised. Because you gotta understand when it comes to YouTube, I'm saying this time and time again, this is never Neverland. You escape reality. Most of these guys are pushing fiction. Anybody who's listening and soaking it in, they're giving it to you the way you want. That's why I talked about yesterday with Roger and his channel. Roger's making a difference to a degree to where a lot of people don't like it, this premise of Roger trying to bring families together. They don't want to be married to the women. A lot of these guys, they want to be hurt. They want guys to be hurt with them with this whole talk of stop talking to the women. I agree with that. To a certain degree, I agree with that. If a lot of these women don't want to be in relationships and they just want to play these men, don't deal with them. But the ones that do, you deal with them. Stop going around thinking what society is telling you Dean as beautiful and well put together. You focus on the aspect of what you want out of a relationship and what you're willing to deal with the people. When it comes down to it, you're the one going to be in a relationship, not them. You spend more time focusing on what everybody's going to say about you in the relationship, you're not going to get that far. On the premise of how a girl looks, you're going to get clowned because she don't look a certain way, you know. Like I told talking with Uru yesterday, we was talking about this. Most men want kids but don't want to be married. That never didn't go together. It never didn't go together. If I wanted a child, I wanted a woman that would be there for my kids, you know. And I want to drop this in the video, and I'm gonna always keep pushing this about Kevin Samuels and what he talks about. A lot of people don't like it, but I speak on it for this. If you're in a relationship and you're a lawyer, you essentially want this doctor to, take care of you. You quit your job being a lawyer, you focus on cooking and cleaning in the house. You don't have kids. You both agree you don't want kids. He's taking care of everything. All you got to do is cook, clean, manage the house, take care of little doctor appointments. You might plan trips. But other than that, what good is your education? You don't need a degree to plan trips. You don't need a degree to uh, mop the floors. With your law degree, you're not arguing with the toilet on how clean it is. You're not even arguing with the dishes. A lot of people don't get the reason why he says that. If you want a man to take care of you, then the degree don't really mean too much unless you have kids. Because even with kids to a degree don't mean nothing because you can have a woman that's graduated high school that can take care of the kids as well. Now, the only point when the degree means something is when you have that degree and you're still working. That degree means a whole lot because you're putting it into work, you know. And that whole thing, he triggered women with this whole 50-50 bills and the working. He draws them in so easily. Kevin almost like trying to be a mastermind in which he's running down the list of things to try to trigger women into, going off and acting a certain way, and they fall right into the trap all the time. I don't watch the whole hour, 3-4 hour videos. I watch those clips because I'm not interested. If it's not enough value for me to get out of it, I'm not watching the whole thing. BGS is probably the only one that I've sit there and watch his 8 hour streams when I was driving back and forth. Sometime if he put those old ones back up, I would still watch them back to back. But the whole premise of like I'm gonna get back to this YouTube war, it's like it's gonna be going on because you got a lot of guys, like I said, that are bitter and hurt. You know, they can't talk to women, so they come on here to vet their pain, and there's nothing wrong with that. If this is the place you want to vet, but let it be that you're vetting and you're tired of the abuse and stuff. Stop focusing on these women trying to say they're horrible because they're never going to change. If you know they're not going to change, why deal with them? You're dealing with a certain type of woman. That's why you're getting a certain type of results. Women the same way. If they're dealing with a certain type of man, they get certain type of results. Like I said on my channel, it's focused on family and money. I don't talk nothing bad about the women that I'm not going to talk about the men. I hold the men accountable just like I hold the women accountable because both have a big part in this. Both equally want to, be in a situation where they want to be right. Both equally are in this situation where they want to point the finger. Both are equally in this situation where they want to, be deemed right or better than. So when we get an understanding of what we dealing with from a lot of people, it make the situation a whole lot easier. And with that being said, I'm about to get ready to jump off of here. Let me check my notes. Okay, just wanted to check my notes, make sure I had everything covered I wanted to talk about. But the biggest thing I want to focus is one more thing. If you have a problem with somebody on YouTube, just cut it off. Cut the internet off. Don't even deal with it. Cut it off. If you have a problem and the issue at hand can't be resolved online, don't dox people. It's not worth it. Legally, you can't afford. I mean, it's good right then at that moment because you were petty, but legally, someone can ruin you. You know, you essentially you do things like this, you're gonna be working for people for the rest of your life, paying off whatever court deemed money being pulled out of your check because of the pettiness you and your feelings. So you got to look at that. Also, when it comes down to this whole fighting online, let it go, man. I mean, is it really, really worth it? You know, devoting so much time and energy. I hear so many guys fighting. I mean, of course, I know you want to get it off and, see people with 10, 15-year beefs. And I heard about certain things in this space long before I got here. I started talking to people. I don't want to mention it, but I mean, it's just to see what people have evolved from what they used to be into what they are now. It's just horrible, man. You're in a process where you should be growing, but to the point where you can't see the results on your actions, really, really. And I'm just going to end with that. We gone.